services, New Heights Baptist Church. All of our people know, but for visitors, well, you know as well if you're visiting. So we're glad you're here tonight and giving a lot of good comments about the services online. And so thank you for all of the good comments. We want to deal with a few things right off of the get-go so that we can get these taken care of. We apologize. I guess we had a little glitch of some sort this morning that we were on Facebook. It went right away on Facebook, but YouTube, I guess it delayed for whatever reason for 5 or 6 minutes. And we apologize for that little glitch. So we hate that, but this is all different for us. And so we apologize for that. And then one of the advantages that we have, as I have mentioned with this live streaming, is that we can watch other people throughout the day. I think my wife and I watched 3 different live stream services today, and we enjoyed that, had a good time with that. So some of you from other churches are viewing this as well, maybe not even now, but even later on. But we've had friends and family, my side of the family as well as Wendy's, that have gotten online and watched us. And that's an honor that people would decide to be with us. So thank you very much. This morning I made a mistake in not pronunciation, but in dates. I think I said this morning that I said September when I was using my illustration about the fella that was redirected, and I said September. I think I expressed 2011, and that was incorrect with the way that I said that. I think I said September 2011 or something before September 2011. I understand that the Twin Towers, the attack on our country was September the 11th, 2001. And I believe the illustration I used from Clark Beinman, I think it was in 2008, 2009 when that happened. So I apologize for that. And then another thing that I want to show you is if I am going to, honey, you may have to help me out a little bit to make sure I have it on screen. If I'm going to use somebody for an illustration, they have a right to defend themselves. So Ashton sent a picture. Where are we at? Do I keep going, honey? Right there, a little closer, a little closer.
Turn it a little, yeah, there.
Okay, this is Ashton's puzzle. And she sent a picture of the back of it. It doesn't have any numbers on it. So Ashton did not cheat. So Ashton, I apologize for accusing you, and we're glad that you defended yourself, and you defended yourself very well. That is hilarious that you could do that, and how you could actually turn that puzzle over the way you did and show me that you didn't have any numbers was pretty amazing. And so I had fun with that. You all are texting us during the live stream the other night. I guess I'd mentioned something about us abiding by the request of our government, and my sister had put on there that if they take me to jail, she'll come bail me out. So those are fun things. My wife commented on our son's live stream today, and I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know how all of this works. I do still see some things on Facebook that people share with me, and I guess my wife commented on Joshua's, said something on Joshua's FaceTime when they were doing their services, and so Jordan put on there, Mom, quit talking during church. And so those are fun things that are happening. Now, another issue we have to deal with. We have to get this taken care of. And that is, we're here in our living room, and we've established a setting to where the chair, and somebody asked, have we moved the furniture around? And yes, we did. This chair and this little end table usually goes over on the other side of the room, and in a little nook area that we have over there. And so these chairs are not normally here. We just put them in front of the fireplace. And so yes, we did move things around a little bit. And I've gotten a lot of comments about my house shoes, and comments like a suit and slippers, and other little comments about my house shoes. They're called house shoes. They are not slippers. Cinderella wears slippers. A pastor wears house shoes. Quit calling my house shoes slippers. You're going to make me mad. So I want to clarify all of that. And so to make sure we get those things taken care of. Giving, you can send your tithes to the church through the mail. You can go by throughout the day when we are there, drop it off in the drop box at the financial office. Some brought their tithe and offerings by this afternoon, so feel free to do that. You can give online, so whatever you would like to do would be wonderful. I would want to encourage you to continue to give in that area. Well, trying times, and I've been dealing with the issue of the coronavirus every service so far, and I'm going to do so again tonight. We're going to look at a few things tonight. I have been dealing with this, I feel like, in a very kind way. Thursday night, for example, I feel like I tried to deliver everything in a balanced way. We went through Romans chapter 13. I dealt with the consequences of not obeying the government. Creates fear. We ought to have fear if we do not obey the government. A good frame of mind, our conscience in verse 5. So I dealt with that. We want to fulfill the law of God. I expressed the other night that the decisions that I have made concerning being the pastor at New Heights Baptist Church were made for a few reasons. In other words, for us to live stream our services as compared to meeting. And one being for the safety of our people, because I'm an American and I want to support our president and our governor, our mayor. I want to be able to support those people. And so we made the decision to live stream for the safety of our people, because I want to be a good American citizen, show my support to helping fight this coronavirus, and for the testimony to our community, and as well a testimony to our own people. And there have been a lot of conversations that have happened concerning not just our decision. This is a very widespread conversation on whether churches should be having services or not having services. I also expressed that I've had a peace of mind of live streaming because they were not attacking the church. Businesses were closing, the schools were closing, restaurants were closing, bars were closing, and all of these different things have been closing. So I didn't look at it as an attack on our church. But last night, there was something that happened that I just realized I don't even have all of this titled. I'm going to give you some information tonight. And I have no desire to be controversial. I made the decision for us to live stream with a clean conscience. I feel good about us doing what we are doing. In the beginning, our president, our vice president, our governor asked us to cooperate for 2 weeks. And we are 1 week into this at this point. But last night we had, and I'm not going to call her name, I have her name written on my paper, and I'm going to deal with some things here tonight that I feel like is important that I, as your pastor, let you know where I stand on this area and in this area. Our Allen County Health Commissioner put out a statement, put out an article last night, Saturday night, before churches were going to meet in their improvising ways, whether it be live streaming. And she put out a statement last night that went to the local news, and our Allen County Health Commissioner put a statement out of prohibiting church gatherings of more than 10 people. Now, we know that this has been suggested. We know that this has been recommended. We know that there has been mandates, I'll use the term mandates, that have been given concerning this. And I looked up the definition of a mandate. A mandate is an official or authoritative command, an order or an injunction, a commission, a judicial precept. Our government has put mandates out asking us to help in this area of keeping distance from each other. Ask church establishments, restaurants, everybody to cooperate in this area. I have no problem with that. They have not made it a law. A law is a body of rules and standards issued by a government or to be applied by courts and similar authorities. I've also looked up which led to what is the difference between a mandate and a law and martial law. Martial law is the law applied in occupied territory by the military authority of the occupying power. It also means the law administered by military forces that is invoked by a government in an emergency when the civilian law enforcement agencies are unable to maintain public order and safety. And let me see if I can explain it in a simple way. The reason for this is because this commissioner, this mandate that she put out fired me up. And I've been very kind this whole time. I've actually dealt with all of this with a good spirit and a good attitude. But I'm going to tell you, I lost sleep last night, and my family was trying to, we had conversation. My family was trying to keep me from being so worked up. I believe that our health commissioner crossed the line, and I will be very kind and polite and cooperative until they start messing with the church. And in my opinion, this law that was, let me go back, the statement that she put out, she crossed the line with our First Amendment. The First Amendment reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. It is our First Amendment right to meet as a church. But as your pastor, as I had mentioned the other night, I felt like that it was best for us, best for our people, best for our community, best for our testimony to abide by all of these mandates. And as long as there is not a battle, I'm okay. But when somebody makes it a battle, I kept saying to my family, this lady decided to make this a battle. I'm going to tell you how she has made it a battle. One, in the fact that she prohibited church gatherings. And not only did she prohibit church gatherings, but listen to what her article said. Not only at the church, but this also includes non-church venues. It said in the article that she is prohibiting churches from meeting even in non-church venues because she learned that churches, in their ingenuity and using their imagination, were meeting in homes that in 10 or less, and I guess that ruffled her feathers a little bit. And so she felt like it was necessary to make her statement that churches were prohibited from doing that. And in my opinion, that crossed the line. Not only did that cross the line in the area of trying to mandate whether we could or could not meet, the truth is, I want everybody to understand that it is our First Amendment right to go ahead and meet as a church. I do understand that in the state of emergency, I'll say a little bit more about that. In the state of an emergency, what happens in the state of an emergency is when a president or a governor declares that, it frees up the finances of the government, and it gives more authority to the government to help make decisions because it is a state of emergency. I understand that. And I do understand that when a state of emergency is requested, that it change everything. State of emergency is the precursor to martial law. For example, a state of emergency is made, and then mandates are given, and if people do not cooperate with these mandates, then martial law, or let me reword it, let me go back, and so a state of emergency, and then because of that, these mandates can be given. A mandate is a very strong command or a suggestion that we abide. And by the way, we as a church, I as your pastor, have decided that we should abide by that. Have no problems with that. But if people do not choose to abide by the mandate, then law can be put into place, which has to be gone through the court systems, and then there are battles. And if the battles continue, then martial law, if it gets way out of order, then the military can come in and help keep peace and order. And I hope that makes a little bit of sense to you. But our Allen County Health Commissioner prohibited everybody from meeting. Not only did she prohibit everybody from meeting with 10 or less, but she also extended beyond a 2-week period. She said this begins at 12:01 midnight or 12:01 a.m., which was this morning, and it goes through April the 11th, which means that is the day before Easter. Our president has asked us to give 2 weeks. This takes it a week longer, and she took it upon herself to add a week. Needless to say, I was pretty fired up. Our governor expressed that he wished his recommendation was 50 people or less originally. Our president has suggested 10 people or less. Again, I have no problems with abiding by and cooperating when people decide that they want to cooperate with us. Now, and this is all in my message, by the way, and we're going to get to scripture here in a moment, so I'm in the middle of my message and my challenge. Our senator, let me back up a little bit. Here's one article that I read yesterday, and in the middle of the article it says, if normal church services are prohibited, then one could argue that the order is being implemented in a discriminatory manner. But at this stage, I think the best approach would be to simply assume normal church services are permitted and point out to anyone who disagrees that it would be both unconstitutional and wrong to treat normal operations at churches differently from normal operations at airports, bus and train stations, medical facilities, etc. As a matter of fact, in the article that our Allen County Health Commissioner put out, she prohibited churches getting together, with the exception of daycares and preschools. I appreciate that. but at the same time, they're still meeting at our facilities. We have a facility right across from our house, and every day when I go out, that parking lot is full. Okay, let me back up. There's probably 50 cars in the parking lot, maybe 75, not full, but a lot of people. And obviously some people still need to work, and they need somebody to help take care of the children. I understand that. But I want consistency. I've said all along, if they're going to close the bars down and they're going to close the restaurants down, then we can cooperate as well. But I want to make sure everybody understands that's out of the kindness of our heart. We have a very gray area here and a fine line between our First Amendment right and doing all the things that I mentioned the other night, keeping a good testimony. There's a price to pay if you don't abide by a mandate. And I choose not to pay the price to be a bad testimony to our neighbors. I don't want them to think as Christians. I said the other night, we ought to be setting an example. I still believe all of that. But when you cross the line and attack the church, then I really believe that we have an issue then. Senator Mike Braun, our senator, was asked on just yesterday, how long before we begin to allow society, it was asked this on a news station, how long before we begin to allow society to come out and begin to move the engines of the economy again? Here was his answer. He said, in his opinion, we need to do this at the end of the 14 to 15 day stretch, or we may create irreversible damage to the economy. Let's be smart about it and adjust where we need to. In my heart, I have been going by that 14 and 15 day request by our president. And when we have a commissioner who mandates and prohibits churches from meeting and didn't like it because churches were meeting in people's homes and decided to make her statement, and she extends it, that's a problem with me. That is a big problem. And I want all of you to know as a church that we will make the decision eventually to start meeting again. I am doing my best to cooperate. I want to continue to cooperate. And as long as they do not make this a battle, we'll be okay. Now, I can argue this, and I'll get to my points here in the message in just a moment. Here's an article written by one of our congressmen, and the congressman is Clay Higgins. He's not from Indiana, but from Louisiana. And the governor there in Louisiana made some of these same mandates of prohibiting churches from meeting. And so one of our congressmen wrote this letter to the governor. I want to read you this letter. Governor Edwards, thank you for your quick and decisive action to contain and combat the spread of COVID-19 in Louisiana. Mitigating the spread of the coronavirus in our communities is a shared priority for all officials in Louisiana and the nation. Historically, in times of crisis, many Americans have found safety and solace in places of faith and worship. These institutions are cornerstones of our nation, playing a large role in caring for the needy, sick, and suffering in times of turmoil. By the way, I want to back up. If daycares are necessary, factories are necessary, grocery stores are necessary, they keep saying these necessary entities, they want to remain open. Well, you know, I feel like church is necessary. Church is not an option. It is a necessity of life. This country needs our churches in their pews praying for the healing of America. And we don't just throw our churches aside. The way I look at it, they are very necessary institutes that need to keep functioning in our society. Or if we aren't careful, we, as Mike Braun said, we may create irreversible damage to our economy. We may create irreversible damage to our country spiritually. We're already in a mess. And now our churches, I look at it as a necessity for our churches to meet with each other. Again, I understand I'm being very bold here tonight, but I feel like some of our church people need to hear their preacher and the position that I'm taking. And so again, back to the letter. These institutions are cornerstones of our nation, playing a large role in caring for the needy, sick, and suffering in times of turmoil. That is why I was disturbed to see the Louisiana Department of Health has issued guidance in interpreting your proclamation as follows. Additionally, the governor has signed a proclamation that immediately halts any gathering of more than 250 people until Monday, April the 13th. This does include church congregations and faith-based meetings. This does not include going to businesses such as shopping malls, pharmacies, grocery stores, etc. I'm going to add in there, I know that the liquor joints are still open. And you mark it down. If the liquor joints are open, the church houses need to be open. The letter continues on. As you know, the First Amendment to the United States Constitution specifically bars the government from making laws. This is one of our congressmen, from making laws respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. I agree that all our constituents and religious leaders should follow the recommendations of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And a reminder, we are. As a church, we are. As your pastor, we are. However, the decision to gather should be the choice of the individual or institution and not a mandate by any government entity. The state has no authority to enforce this proclamation nor any ban on worship. I respectfully ask that you clarify to the people of Louisiana that the freedom of religious expression will be protected in our state. All I am asking for is consistency with the churches. I want our freedoms protected. I will fight for those freedoms. And if you want to get this preacher stirred up, you begin to mess with the church. And when you begin to mess with the church, this smile that I wear on my face and this positive attitude that I try to keep and encourage other people, I can also be a battler. I don't want to battle. I don't want to create a problem, but I am willing to. And so let me give you some thoughts here tonight. And we're going to go to Acts chapter 4. Acts chapter 4. That was all my introduction. And we should be able to get through this pretty quickly because I've already given you much of my heart. Acts chapter 4. And we're going to begin in verse 13. And before we do, let's pray together. Lord, thank you for our church, for our dear people. They've been so kind. Many are watching online. Lord, please help me. I don't want to come across in a mean way or an ugly way tonight. But at the same time, as a preacher, as a pastor, I feel like it is my responsibility and it is my duty to protect our freedoms. And so I pray that you will help me and continue to guide me tonight. And we'll thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. Acts chapter 4, and we will begin in verse 13. Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men, they marveled. And they took knowledge of them that they had been with Jesus. I want people to see the Lord in us. I really do. That's why I think we ought to act in a responsible way. And beholding the man which was healed standing with them, they could say nothing against it. But when they had commanded them to go aside out of the council, they conferred among themselves. So in other words, what are we going to do with these guys? They got a man next to them, and they said, what are we going to do with these guys? They have a fellow next to them that has been healed. And so they got Peter and John told them to go aside. And so they got together and they talked about this. And so they conferred among themselves, saying, what shall we do to these men? For that indeed a notable miracle hath been done by them is manifest to all them that dwell in Jerusalem, and we cannot deny it. But that it spread no further among the people. So they said, we don't want this news to get out. Let us straightly threaten them that they speak henceforth to no man in his name. Now again, I understand Nobody said we can't talk about the Lord. We can still meet live stream. I appreciate that. They gave some, and by the way, the health commissioner retracted almost immediately. I tried to find the original article so I could share some of the details with you. No, they have, I think her phone or email started to blow up, and she retracted almost immediately. I'm thankful that she did. I'm sure she is a nice lady. I've considered setting an appointment and going and talking with her to find out why would she do such a thing, and to let her know that as a pastor in this area, it is my full intentions to cooperate. And I'm willing to let her speak her heart. I'm willing to cooperate with all of this. But again, let's go back to Peter and John. Verse 17, but that it spread no further among the people, let us straightly threaten them, that they speak henceforth to no man in this name. And they called them and commanded them not to speak at all, nor teach in the name of Jesus. But Peter and John answered and said unto them, whether it be right in the sight of God to hearken unto you more than unto God, judge ye. For we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. So when they had further threatened them, they let them go, finding nothing how they might punish them because of the people. For all men glorified God for that which was done. I want us to glorify the Lord. I want our church to have a good testimony. I want that. And I wrote down some things in alliteration. When you make statements that were just made by our health commissioner, that creates a battle. In that battle, it creates a conflict. Now, I want to make sure you understand, I'm going to make application not just to this, to her. I don't mean for this to all be about her. It's a lot of her statement is what got me fired up. I understand that. But in relationships, the husband and wife relationship, a church relationship with your friends, when a battle is started, it creates a conflict. When somebody begins to make statements that are battling statements, controversial positions, it creates a conflict. I was grieved in my heart. I could not, as long as we can go through this without it being a battle, I will be happy. I'll be thrilled to continue to cooperate. And again, I'm not changing anything at this point, but I felt like it was important to voice and give you some more thought, because we're all dealing with this. Conversations that we all have amongst family, amongst friends, amongst church members. All these conversations, many times we get in a very difficult conversation, and it's this person has this opinion, this person has that opinion, and conflict has probably happened in our own living rooms, in our own kitchens, and so when you create a conflict, here's the second thing that happens: it forces people to choose sides. I want to choose the side of the Lord, and I want to choose the side of our government. But when the two create a conflict and make us begin to choose, and they begin to attack the church and the First Amendment, a conflict has started, and they force us to choose sides. A couple gets angry at each other, and to the point they're fussing and carrying on, and divorce and all of that. Well, you know, their conflict makes people choose sides, because there are some people that love both sides. But a conflict makes people choose. So the conflict goes to choosing sides, and then it challenges our spirit. I'm telling you, my spirit was challenged. And Thursday night, my spirit really wasn't all that challenged, to be honest with you. And I was coming in today, actually, with enthusiasm and joy to be able to meet with everybody online. Thanking the Lord that we have technology that we can do this. But a battle was created. And when a battle was created, a conflict was created, it put me in a position to have to choose sides, and my spirit was challenged. I prayed for another brother in our town. I will not name his name. I would not want to bring more challenges on him or their church. But the truth is, they were planning on meeting today. By the way, I know that they did not meet because of this statement that was put out by the Allen County Health Commissioner. They didn't want to go through the battles of it all, so they did not meet. I know of 2 other friends who are pastors in the state of Indiana that they met this morning, and they're probably meeting tonight. Now, I take that back. One of them is not having an evening service. I don't know about the other one, but I do know that they whether they have an evening service. There are men in this state and across the country that have chosen to not cancel their church services. Do I think that's wise? That's between them and the Lord. All of those things that I gave on Thursday night, I still believe those things. They have to make decisions based on what's best for them and their church, and that is their liberty. Now, whether a church across town should or should not have services, for one, that's none of my business. But I'm going to tell you this. I prayed for a brother last night, and this morning I started calling, but I know he has a busy day, and I guarantee his heart is in turmoil because last night he was planning on having church services, and then a statement like this comes across his desk or the phone, and he decides not to have church services. And I guarantee you there was a pastor and a staff and a church people that were grieved. My heart went out to them. Their spirit was challenged. I guarantee their spirit was challenged. Now again, whatever the decision they make is between them and the Lord, but I'll promise you this. I will march to the courthouse, the state house, the White House, anywhere we need to go in order to protect their liberty to choose to meet on a Sunday morning or anytime they want to meet. That is their liberty and their First Amendment right, and I will fight with them over that. But when a battle's created, a conflict, it creates a conflict, it makes us choose sides, and then our spirit is challenged. Now, oh boy, what time is it? I could go to, let me give you some illustrations. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 4, Daniel chapter 6. And I've taken a little bit longer than I intended to. And so let's keep these things in mind. Daniel didn't want to eat of the king's meat. So purpose in his heart not to defile himself. That was the king's decree, or the king's command. Daniel talked to him and said, would you allow us to eat of the fruit and not take of the king's meat, and after so many days then evaluate us? Well, they compromised. I say compromise. They got along with each other. The conflict was diffused. Everything was fine. Nebuchadnezzar dreamed a dream. He was getting ready to kill everybody because they couldn't interpret the dream. Daniel got with his friends and said, you don't need to pray. And Nebuchadnezzar has dreamed a dream. He's getting ready to kill everybody. And Daniel 2 and verse 15, he answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? I say this about this decree that happened last night. Why? I feel like that was hasty. Somebody found out that church people were getting together in a bunch of houses across the city. I don't think somebody liked it. And so they put out their little statement. I'd like to think they realize now that was hasty. Why make a hasty decision? Why create a conflict? You challenge us when you do that, and you make us want to choose sides when that happens. I don't want to be put in that position, and so don't put us in that position. So Daniel talked to him. They were able to diffuse it. Daniel went to his house, went to his friends, said, y'all pray about this. Daniel interpreted the dream. Everything was fine. Well, then they make an idol and say everybody needs to bow to this idol. Well, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, did I get all those in there? They said, we aren't doing that. Well, you hear the trumpet sound, you bow. We aren't doing that. And they were thrown into the fiery furnace. You take Daniel chapter 6. This is a perfect illustration in Daniel chapter 6. This is so interesting. care. They couldn't find anything against Daniel. So they said, hey Darius, would you sign a decree that you can't pray? All the presidents and the kingdom, the governors and princes, the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. He signs it. I think a hasty decision, but he signs it. Well, you know what happened? Darius created a conflict. When he created that conflict, he made Daniel have to choose sides. And when Daniel had to choose sides, I guarantee his spirit was challenged. And Daniel said, "I'm going to keep praying." In Daniel, in verse 10 of chapter 6, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did aforetime. Daniel said, "I'm not changing anything." Look, we've been having church for years, and I get real bothered when people begin to threaten that and want to take time away from us. Daniel said, "Now look, they're paying the price. I don't want to pay the price. I don't want to have to be thrown into a fiery furnace. I don't want to have to be thrown into a den of lions. I would rather say, King, don't make me eat all of that meat. Let me eat something else. Check us all out after so many days. Let's talk." That's what I want to do with this. And so all kind of relationships. When a battle is started, it creates a conflict. It makes people want to choose sides, and it challenges our spirit. What should we do? I'm going to try to go very quickly now. One, we need to keep our countenance in check. Oh boy, my family was trying to talk me. I'll use a term. They were trying to talk me off the shelf last night because I got so fired up. My wife said, sometimes I spout off at home and around my family, and I say things because I'm at liberty, I guess. And my wife said to me the other day, she said, "I guess I have learned that you say things at the house, and sometimes I think I scare everybody to death with some of the things I say." And like last night, I was so fired up. Well, Nick reminded me, he said, "Look, I just want to remind you that I found out people at work are watching and where he works, and that if y'all working with Nick and you're watching, I thank God for you. I'm honored that you would take the time to watch us, and I wouldn't want to do anything to offend anybody, whether it's people that Nick works with or anybody works with." And so Nick's trying to encourage me. And look, we got to keep our countenance in check. Not only do we need to keep our countenance in check, but we need to make the choices that are Christ-like. I want to please the Lord. I want to make choices that other people look at that are Christ-like choices. And then third and last of all, you need to cheer up your family and friends. We're all going to need each other. I needed Nick last night. I really did. I needed him. I needed my family. They were laughing and, trying to bring up some things to help ease my frustration with all of this. I kept saying, "She crossed the line. She crossed the line." And, oh man, was I fired up. I was fired up. And so, again, Nick was trying to help me out, and I love him and I appreciate him. I hope all of you understand that, those of you that work with Nick and others, I thought about this. If we were to meet you personally, which some of you I have met personally that Nick works with, he works with some very nice people. And I'm not saying that to be sarcastic. He works with some very nice people. But I'm willing to say that if we were out to dinner with each other or together at a little bit more casual of a setting, well, sure, you can be nice, and sure, I can be nice. But I'd be willing to say that if we saw some of those people in their work environment, the people that they're dealing with, the enforcement of law and rule, I'd be willing to say that there are times they have to be stern and have to raise their voice, and times that we would say, "Oh my." I'd be willing to say that Nick might even be able to be scary at work. I don't know. Can Nick be scary at work? Probably. I don't know. And but the work environment dictates that. I want everybody to understand that as a pastor, as a man of God, as somebody that wants to protect our religious liberties, there are times where I have to take a stand And I hope I'm coming out in a good way tonight. I felt like I need to take a position tonight and let our people know that I love the Lord, I love our church, I love our people, I love our government, and I pray that let's keep cooperating. Let's not make this a battle. We can make it a battle. I think some of these churches that are getting themselves in trouble, they're making it a battle. I don't want to make it a battle. And so, as a church, let's not make it a battle. And I pray and ask our government, don't make this a battle. And let us keep going, being a good American citizens, helping each other out, and being what we ought to be. Wow. Okay, I apologize. 45 minutes. I don't apologize. Thank you. Our fire is about done. I got to quit when the last log, I got to put some more wood on the fire. And I'm in my house shoes. Thankful for my house shoes. Leave my slippers alone. And love you all. We'll see you Thursday night live streaming right here. Thank you.